What's up, everyone? This is the Ike's Inspiration Podcast, and today I have a good friend who named Malik. Malik is an entrepreneur, he's an author, and he's a creator, and he has a lot of advice on how to purchase real estate. And so today we're gonna get into who Malik is and talk about his real estate journey. So my first question, Malik, is before we really get into the weeds of things. Who is Malik?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I would say first, I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a individual who's always evolving, um, and I really just like to help people, honestly.
Okay. That's awesome, man. So I'm very curious, man. Like I know you recently bought a building at the age of 24, which is extremely impressive, my guy. Like, what inspired you to start investing, real estate investing, and at such a young age?
Honestly, I wanted to figure out a way to make money where I didn't have to work every day for it. So in turn, make money in my sleep. And real estate was one of those things that I came across that allows that. Almost every billionaire or maybe every billionaire, has some sort of real estate aspect to them, and they've made a lot of their money through real estate.
Yeah, yeah, man. So yeah, so you're pretty much trying to make some good passive income and free up your time so you can do what you really want. I respect that, man. Yo, so I read your book, man. How I brought a building at 24. Great read for everyone who's interested. And I kind of want to, because in that book you pretty much talk about you give a lot of advice and information on how to go about buying real estate. One thing I did want to ask you, man, is like if for anyone who's wanting to start purchasing real estate, what is the first thing they should start thinking about? Like, what should their thought process be like?
Good question. I would say the first thing they should do is they should look at their own financial situation, right? Because there's a lot of requirements and a lot of things that go into real estate, but you can't buy real estate if you don't have money. And there's credit that also goes along with it. So what I would do is I would start by analyzing your financial situation to see how capable you are to buy real estate, and if you're not capable now, how long it would take to become capable.
Yeah, I know in your book you mentioned like if we're all being honest, like the hardest part about getting into this game is actually getting the capital, bro. So like, in the book I know you talked about budgeting and kind of creating like a financial intention to save. What should people pay attention to when budgeting and trying to increase their income? Like, walk me through the process of how you were able to save your money to purchase real estate.
Right. So the first thing I did was I analyzed where I was spending my money. And if you are a person who has not done this yet, you'll be surprised with the places that you spend your money and how much of that money is going to places that you might not have even realized. So the first thing I did was analyze my expenses. How much money was I spending on subscriptions, eating out, gas, all of those things. And from there, I compared that to the amount of income that I had. So I subtracted the amount of expenses from the amount of income, and that gave me whatever amount of money I was had left over.
Gotcha, gotcha.
From there, you can then determine what to do with that money. But I think the first step is to analyze what you spend your money on.
Gotcha, man. Yeah. So for those who don't know, like I know you personally, so I know what kind of property you got, but I'm sure the listeners aren't too aware. So like, can you describe your property? What is it? Where did you get it? Like, and just talk about your property a little bit more.
Yeah, so I purchased a property over here in Massachusetts. It's 4 units in one building, so it's a fourplex, as many people call it, or quadplex. Um, each unit is its own separate floor and its own separate apartment, and they Each have a bathroom, living room, bedrooms. Each unit has 3 bedrooms, so they all pretty much pay their rent every
Yeah,
month.
yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. A 4 unit, man. That's lit, man. A lot of cash flow. How much did you buy that property for, if you don't mind me asking, and how did you find that property? Because the reason why I asked that is because I'm also a real estate investor. I'm owner of 2 properties, and I feel like for me, the hardest part about real estate is actually finding a good deal. Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, everything else kind of starts to flow, but actually finding that good deal is like what makes real estate really difficult. So, like, how much did you purchase the property for, and how did you find that deal?
So I purchased it for a little bit under half a mil.
Okay.
So right around the 480,000 mark. I am also a residential real estate agent, so I was putting it out to all the realtors in the area that I was looking for a 4 unit, and someone actually hit me back telling me, "Hey, I have a 4 unit. It's off market." And then when I ran the numbers made sense, and then I went and purchased it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's awesome, man. So that's you got an off market deal, and I know usually those off market deals are the busting deals, man. So that's awesome. So I also want to ask you, my guy. So once you purchased the real estate, how did you like, because I read your book and you have a whole chapter called Running Your Numbers, which is pretty much like the art of analyzing a deal. How do people run the numbers to know that, like, yo, this is a good deal, this is what I should be buying? Yeah, you know?
So it's not as difficult as it seems. You just need to know what you're looking for, and also each investor is different. It has a different. Everyone has their difference in what they're looking for and what makes a deal good. Me personally, I like cash flow, so I need to know how much it costs to run the property every month versus how much I make every month. As long as I am making what I deem a substantial amount of money after paying all the bills, all the expenses, that's how I determine if it's a good deal or not for me.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so keep it real simple. If it cash flows, it goes, right? Like, just like you're with that. All right, man. And so I just out of curiosity, like, what's a good cash flow per unit? Like 400 per unit, 1,000 per unit. What is kind of like for you like a good cash flow?
Personally, I'm looking for something for like 400 per unit. Obviously, the more the better.
Yeah.
But also, I'm looking for potential in the area. So if an area is up and coming, that means that the rents will probably continue to go up. Once the development in those areas happen, and those areas will be revitalized. So I'm looking for some investment potential there as well.
Yeah, man, that's dope, man. So, yeah, man, I think honestly, like, to see what you're doing is very impressive, bro. And I you don't really see many young black men buying, purchasing buildings at that age. So I just want to take some time to like celebrate your success, man. And I also wanted to ask you about like so like on social media, like real estate kind of is becoming more trendy, and everyone's like, yo, like, they kind of, it's always constantly showing the upsides of real estate. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think real estate has a lot of benefits. But one thing I feel like a lot of the influence don't do is talk about all the downsides that come from buying real estate and all the costs, the expenses, the time it takes. Like I know you said you kind of went into this for passive income, but low key, like even real estate isn't that passive. There's a lot of work that goes into it. So can you talk about all the downsides about real estate for me in your
Yeah,
experience?
absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of downsides. Social media does a great job of showing you the upside, but leaving out the downsides that come with it. Personally, I have witnessed some things that go on. You never really want to put your last dollar into acquiring a house because there's always something that could happen. It's a properties. Properties were built hundreds of years ago. So typically, you want to make sure that you have some type of reserves on deck for, or like a rainy day for anything, just in case something happens. And then you also have to keep in mind you're dealing with people. So some things happen to people. Sometimes people can't pay their rent, so you have to have a fund for that. Sometimes things break. It's
Yeah.
just there's a whole bunch of
Yeah.
factors that need to be kept under consideration when buying properties.
Yeah. I appreciate you for like kind of speaking on that. I guess for me as a real estate investor and an owner, like I don't get me wrong, I don't regret buying my properties, but I feel like it's a lot more work than social media makes it out to. You got
Absolutely.
maintenance bills, you got electricity bills, you got the water bill, then you got to deal with people, and people might be like, "Yo, this like sometimes people may be late on their rents, and then you got the landlord tenant dynamic where it's like I'm the boss, but are you? But I'm younger than you. I have a tenant who's double my age, and I'm telling him what to do, and so there's a lot of different complexities that can kind of like make real estate a lot more difficult. But that does not to shy away from real estate or tell people not to do it, but just to kind of allow people to have that like a realistic mindset of what they're getting into. Uh, Another question I have for you, boss, is do you kind of have any stories in regards to your property? Any interesting stories? It could be good or bad.
Yes, I have a bad one.
Okay.
Just to continue with the example of things that don't go right.
Yeah.
So I bought my property, right? Did inspection, did everything. Everything came out clean. Um, Maybe 3 or 4 months in, there was a pipe underground that connects to the city's water slash sewer line.
Okay.
That pipe underground collapsed. And
That's
so because
crazy.
that pipe collapsed, and this probably happens once every 100 years, maybe. So it just so happened to occur to me. When that
Damn.
pipe collapsed, it was shooting water and also like sewage out of the garage where the pipe meets the surface.
Yeah.
So to fix that, it cost about like $20,000 to $30,000, and
Damn.
that had to come out of pocket for me,
Damn.
which
Damn,
is why
bro. That's crazy.
that fund.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, that 20 to 30. And I'm guessing like because like they force you to have cash reserves, you had the money to put it there, right? Is that how you had the money?
Yeah, so I had saved some money just in case, and then when you also buy a 3 or 4 unit, they do require you to have some cash reserves just in
Yeah.
case anything happens for rent.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's crazy, man. Like, so when you figured out about the pipe situation, like, what was like your honest reaction towards that? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm guessing as an investor, you were definitely not expecting to deal with that issue, you know?
Yeah, man, I was not happy, I can say that, but also I'm very solution oriented, so there's a solution to every problem. I might not like the solution, but the solution exists.
Yeah,
I didn't really have time to think about it in an emotional aspect. I just had to get it done
yeah.
because if not, it would have cost me a lot more money in the long run.
Yeah. I remember talking to you about real estate, and one thing that you said that like stuck out to me was like, it's like a cold business, man. You can't have emotions, man. You just gotta make those decisions, and it's like what niggas say. It's not personal. It's just business,
Yeah,
nigga.
it's just business.
It's just
It's
business.
not personal.
Yeah.
Not
So,
personal at
yo.
all.
So, yo, the other questions, man, is like I mentioned before, man. You made this book called How I Bought a Building at 24, which I think is very impressive, and I just want to say salute to you for writing that.
Thank you,
I'm
bro.
very curious to learn about the process of writing a book because I have dreams of myself of becoming an author and kind of writing my own one day an autobiography. So I'm just very curious to kind of hear about like the process of writing the book and how long did it take you and what inspired you to create that book.
Good question. So I would say the book probably took me from start to finish. Well, it took me a couple of months, maybe half a year to actually write it. And my goal was to have this book be accurate enough, but also concise and short enough to where it isn't discouraging and people would read it. So I think the book is maybe less than 40 pages, which when you see a book about real estate, people usually become discouraged. But if you tell them it's less than 40 pages, they usually are like, oh, okay, I can read that.
Yeah, man.
So it took that long, and then I would say packaging and getting everything together, a cover and everything took maybe like a month. So let's just call it half a year, 7 months to get this done.
Yeah, yeah, man. That okay. So about half a year. Okay, that's interesting. Not yeah, your book is relatively short. I definitely ascribe to that, dude. Like I purchased your book, and as soon as I purchased it, I think I read it like the next day, and like I literally read it in like 2 hours. So like it
Yeah.
was like probably like one of the shortest reads I ever had. But it still didn't negate the value that was in the book. You know. So I was kind of also curious to like learn like what inspired you, man, to write the book? You know, what inspired you to write the book? Because a lot of people own real estate, but a lot of people don't make that extra effort to kind of talk about their experience or document it.
Honestly, I got so when I bought the property, a couple months later, I posted up on my Instagram, like I shared that I had purchased a property. And I don't know anyone else in my family who's purchased a multi-family. It might be someone, but not in my immediate family, who has purchased a multi-family or multi-unit property. So I got a lot of questions. A lot of people calling me, a lot of people texting me. How did I do it? Just so many questions, and it became overwhelming in terms of me not having enough time to go in and answer everyone's individual questions. A person like me, if I rock with you, I'm going to answer every question. So
Yeah, yeah.
I think the information was needed, and that all of the information that is included in this book is out there, but it might be scattered in different places. So for a person who might not be as motivated, they might have a difficult time trying to find all of this information or curating a step-by-step guide on what to do. So I wanted to eliminate a lot of excuses for people and give them guidance on how to do it step by step.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I appreciate that you did that. I think a lot of young people like my age and whatnot can really learn a lot from the book, and it seems like you're doing your thing, and a lot of people are purchasing the book. So I'm happy, man, to see your success, man. And I kind of want to delve more into the content of the book. And specifically, I want to like kind of learn more about you and like your story. You mentioned that you in the book like you grew up from Bronx in the Bronx, right? New York. Can you speak towards that experience and how that shaped you as a person? You know?
Yeah, the Bronx. The Bronx is not the, how do I say it? There's a lot of Bronx slander out there. Everyone who talks shit about the Bronx, need to go take a trip. It's one of the best places in the world. But at the same time, growing up in the Bronx wasn't the easiest. You deal with a lot of adversity. I think I got used to adversity early on. Just There's a
Yeah.
whole bunch of different things that occur in the Bronx, especially during the ever when I was traveling to school, going to school, coming home. There's a lot of like robberies. There's a whole bunch of a lot of stuff, but that comes with it, and that comes with growing up in the Bronx and just living in that environment and living in New York. New York is more fast paced than probably anywhere else in the world, so you get, or I got certain skill sets, learned how to hustle, learned how to be ambitious, learn how to protect myself. Like there's a whole bunch of different things. Learn how to read rooms,
Yeah.
interact with people. There's just a lot of qualities that you learn growing up in the Bronx.
Yeah, I feel like growing up in that type of environment, you kind of have to be like cutthroat and like tough and like they say like I've heard people say that like if you can like live in New York, like you can live anywhere, and and I guess there seems to be a lot of truth from there. Like a lot of my friends from New York, y'all seem to be like super ambitious, like hustle mind, like hustle, 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 like kind of get it how you can type of mentality. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta always be trying to improve yourself. I feel like day by day I'm trying to improve myself. But also, you gotta hustle. Like, what
Yeah.
are you doing if you're not trying to get better? If you're not trying to improve your circumstance?
Yeah. Yeah.
Complacency is one of those things that happen to a lot of people, and I feel like everyone gets complacent at some point. But
Yeah.
where do you want to be complacent at? Do you want to be complacent where you're not comfortable, or
Yeah.
somewhere where you're living more lavish and comfortable?
Yeah, 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 for sure, man. Yeah, and like in the book, man, I was like reading something that I felt like I thought was very interesting. And you know, a lot of people right now, you're being recognized for your book and your real estate. But I'm not. But you also kind of came up with a passion for football, and you had like you're a college athlete with aspirations of becoming an NFL player. Can you talk about that, your passion for the game, and what and like how you were trying to become an NFL player, but what made you kind of like stop pursuing that career, you know?
Yeah, so I've been playing football for a very, very long time. Maybe like since I was 6, 7.
Yeah, yeah.
I started tackling football at like 10. So I've been playing football all of my life. I went to school. I got a scholarship to 2 different schools playing football. And then I would say after graduating from University of Rhode Island, I went to train in New Jersey. So I was doing combine training where we're doing like 2 or 3 workouts a day. And that's what we're focusing on every day for months.
Yeah.
What stopped me was that COVID had occurred at the end of the training. So we had a pro day scheduled, and then we had our training. So training date and then pro day date. Right before our pro day, where all the scouts and all the teams come to like watch you do drills and test you, COVID had just hit, and everyone knows the impact of COVID, but everything was shut down for the next 2 years, basically. So that ended it all for me. I could have kept going, but at the same time, it's a long road, it's a long process, and everything was up in the air. So I decided to hang it up there instead of trying to go overseas and make my way back.
Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I guess like hearing your story, it kind of explains where like your drive comes from and where like your discipline comes from. And I guess something I'm very curious about, man, is like I guess for a lot of athletes, like you know, once they kind of feel like whatever sport they were playing isn't what they isn't out cut out for them anymore. Like
Yeah.
I'm always curious to hear about like the transition and like learning about yourself and like your identity, because I know a lot of athletes like you, like this is your whole life, and you're like, you know, you're kind of just constantly envisioning like this dream that you have, and then to kind of be realistic with yourself and kind of move in a different direction. Like how do you go about like soul searching and finding an identity, you know?
Honestly, I'm happy that this is a question that you're asking because this is something that isn't really talked about on a large scale. I would say the only people who really talk about it now are like places or podcasts slash shows like The Pivot.
Yeah.
They start talking about it a little bit more, but honestly, it becomes a point in time. It's a lonely process where you need to figure out who you are as a person.
Yeah.
A part of your identity is the athletics. It is being on a team. It is also playing a sport, dedicating hours and hours into a specific sport, right? So when you're in college athletics, your whole life is dedicated toward that sport. So when you take that away, it's like, who are you as a person? Many
Yeah.
people don't know. They don't know what skills they have outside
Yeah.
of whatever sport they're doing because they don't have time to actually hone those skills or develop those
Yeah.
skills because they have a time. Basically, their time is managed and they have to manage what they do with that time. So it's very difficult to find what you're good at. And I think a lot of people default to what they know rather than search and determine what they're good at. It's a process that can take longer than expected, but I think that people should take their time and discover what they actually like to do outside of their sport while playing the sport, just in case. And I think I didn't know that I wanted to do real estate. In the back of my head, I knew that I wanted to find a way to earn a lot of money without necessarily working for it.
Mm-hmm.
And this was one of the ways that I came up with.
Gotcha. Yeah, gotcha, man. Yeah, and yeah, I think that's pretty deep, bro. I think especially for athletes, like kind of learning about yourself. I would imagine it kind of being depressing to an extent, because I know for like college athletes and just athletes in general who are relatively successful, like I feel like everybody knows you for being like that star basketball player or that star athlete, and like you're and like everybody like knows you for being, what you're good at, and then to kind of like stop doing that, it feels like people stop. I don't know. I can't speak, but I would imagine people stop showing you the attention that you were always receiving, and that probably feels weird. So, like, what was your search like, bro? Like, like how did you kind of go about soul searching? Like, what did you do to search and like kind of find like what your new passion is?
Yeah, so you mentioned a couple of things. Your status as an athlete, that you switches. Like some people try to hold on to that for a long time,
Yeah.
but that's not you anymore. So you have to move in the now rather than trying to hold on to something that is no longer you.
Yeah.
In terms of my personal search, I spent a lot of time alone. I read a lot of books, read a whole lot of books,
Okay.
just to see what might interest me versus what I don't like. Um, the physical aspect was there as well, always exercising.
Yeah.
That's helping to regulate my mood, helping to regulate stress,
Yeah.
also allowing me to have a fit body and, just stay healthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would say also podcasts. Like I was just taking in a
Nice.
lot of information. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was doing, I was reading a lot of books, listening to a lot of podcasts, audio
Okay.
books, everything, just taking in information. And
Yeah.
I was also looking and comparing careers to see how much money certain careers make.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what drew me to real estate was the ability to make money in my sleep and make money with limited amount of effort,
Mm.
relatively.
Relatively,
Limited.
compared to
Yeah.
like a full-time job or something. Yeah, that,
Correct.
that makes sense. Yeah, man. Okay, so it seems like you had like a deep thirst for knowledge, and you're just constantly trying to learn and improve and learn and reiterate. You mentioned books and podcasts, and that is where you're getting your main source of knowledges. Can you speak towards the books that most impacted your life, and what podcasts also played a big role in your journey?
Yeah. So book wise, I have an extensive book list. I would say in terms of money, like money management, some of those books that provided guidance for me was Set for Life was one of the first books that I read in the journey. And that's talked a lot about saving money to then go put that money somewhere to make you more money,
Mm.
as well as Rich Dad, Dad, Richest Man in Babylon. Talked a
Mm.
lot about paying yourself first before you go out and pay something else.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Let me think. The Four Agreements for some
Okay,
personal
that's a good book
development.
too. Yeah,
Yeah, that was a really good book for me.
yeah.
As a Man Thinketh was
Oh,
probably up there on the
that's
top of my list.
nice, nice, nice. Yeah, yeah.
Um, and then podcast wise, Earn Your Leisure, they have a whole network of podcasts that really
Okay.
helps. And as I was searching, Earn Your Leisure was growing. So they put out weekly podcasts on a bunch of different business ventures and business opportunities.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah.
I
Dude,
leaned into them a lot for some
some game.
ideas and support. They also had the first Invest Fest festival, which is an investment festival where a bunch of leaders come to speak about the culture and a lot of business opportunities that they had and just their personal stories. So I went to the first one and I went to the second one, but the first one was around that time. And then another podcast I would listen to was Under the EYO Network, a podcast by 19 Keys, and then another podcast by Ash Cash.
Okay, okay. Man, so wow, you right there. You just gave us a plethora of sources, man.
Yeah,
That's
and then
awesome.
the other place I have to shout out, or a podcast I have to shout out, is Bigger Pockets. Once I determined
Oh
that
yeah, with David
was
Green
what I
and them.
wanted,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, bro.
I
Yeah,
was
though I'm familiar with a lot of those resources too. You mentioned Earn Your Leisure. We actually went to InvestFest together. I think like not this year, but the previous year, and
yeah.
it was definitely a busting event for sure. Um, then some of the books you mentioned, Richest Man in Babylon. That's one of my favorite books too, man. Yeah, there's kind of the art of saving and like constantly kind of growing your money, and then kind of falling in love with the process of seeing your bank account grow. There's some
Yeah,
addicting feeling towards that. Then you also, then yeah, I also read As a Man Thinketh, man. And I think that book is an underrated book by James Allen. Yeah.
that's another book that's really short. That's less than 30 pages.
Yeah, but sometimes like those short books, man, like it cuts out all the fluff and it just kind of gets straight to it, you know.
No
And I think,
fluff,
and
facts.
I think As a Man Thinketh does that, man. I think a lot of people don't realize like you are what you think, you know. And I think as simple as that is a very powerful concept. So, yeah, I definitely think those are some great books. I'm glad that you mentioned. I haven't read Set for Life. I may add that to my reading list. But another question, man, that I did have for you was like, I know you're very ambitious, man, and like Malik doesn't stop, man. Like, so like, what goals do you have for yourself? Like, you brought your first building. You created another book. You created your first book, which was a great read. Like, what do you see yourself doing in the future, and how do you plan on accomplishing that goal?
Honestly, future goals, right? I want to create something or like a service, a business, product, something that solves a lot of problems
Mm,
or solves an individual problem that many people have.
mm,
I have yet to determine what that is,
gotcha,
but I feel like that's my purpose and that's my main goal.
gotcha.
My number one overall is to figure out a problem that many people have and provide a solution.
Gotcha. So it sounds like you want to do some type of product innovation, where like you create some really lit product that
Something. It could be a product, it could be a service. I'm not sure yet,
yeah,
but
yeah. And it seems like you got to go back to the diving board and do a lot of soul searching again.
yeah, I need to think about a problem that
Yeah.
so many people have and then come up with a solution.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's easier said than done, but I'm sure you can do it, man. Like, I think everyone kind of always wants to create like the next social media agency or like clothing brand, but unfortunately, like 90% of businesses fail. So it's kind of hard to to really create a product that can go upon the masses. But once you do, it's like boom, like it's lit,
Yeah.
it's up. So I'm definitely sure you're capable of doing that. And I wanted to ask you another thing that I was very interested in the book, and it said, be aware of the words that you use when speaking about yourself. Can you talk about that? I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, so that comes from the four agreements, and that I think the agreement that one is be intentional with your word.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people say things, and even I often say things that you'll say something like, "Oh, I'm stupid," joking around,
Mm-hmm.
but your body doesn't necessarily know that you're joking around. So I think that what you put into the atmosphere comes back to you. So if you're saying all positive words,
Mm.
you're gonna think about yourself positively.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's little things that we can do and just little changes to our vocabulary that can help us and push us forward and eventually change our mindset and change how we think about ourselves.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to the book As a Man Thinketh. It talked a lot about having like a very strong positive image of yourself and kind of creating your reality by putting your thoughts out there that you're like what you believe about yourself, and then hence kind of what you internalize eventually externalize it. So I agree with that. Um, I wanted to. It sounds like you're into affirmations. I think I read in your book you also do a lot of affirmations. Is that true?
Yes, for sure. Every day.
What are your affirmations?
I have a list of them. I can give you a couple of them. I think I mentioned in the book, I am fearless, I am abundant, there's more, I am happy, I am healthy,
Yeah,
I am wealthy.
yeah,
I have a ton of them that I say daily.
yeah. So what do you say to the critics who are like, "Yo, like that affirmation shit is bullshit." Like, like, well, how is that helping me? Like I'm just saying words. Like, what do you say to those people who are like who are skeptical of that?
Well, they're not wrong. I would just say maybe if they've tried it in their past, that they haven't done it long enough,
Yeah.
and they haven't said anything that they actually mean. You have to mean it. So I agree. I agree with them to some aspect. I didn't mean the things that I said at first, but the more I said it, the more I actually meant it, and I transitioned from not believing it to actually believing it to then becoming it, and
Mm.
no longer having to say that affirmation.
Nice, nice. Yeah. So, um, it sounds like it's like what you're saying is not necessarily what you're saying, but like how intentional and how significant you really believe what you're saying. Yeah, yeah,
What are you putting behind that saying? That's
yeah,
really what it is. What's
yeah,
the intention behind it?
yeah,
The
yeah.
feeling behind it? Do you really believe it?
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude. Yeah, man. That's definitely good game for sure. And I'm glad that you shared that. Definitely makes me look at affirmations a little bit differently. One thing I also wanted to ask you about, man, was I know on your Instagram page, you do a lot of like yoga, and you have a lot of like nice posts where you kind of have this like routine going on. Can you speak towards your routine and how that kind of helps you throughout your life?
Yeah. So I never really, well, I didn't really know where it started. And I've had routine before I even went into college, but once I got into college, it really honed. I really honed the skill of time management and creating routines. It allows you to get into the flow of things and allows you to be productive. So, as a college athlete, you only have but so much time to do different things. So I think a routine allows you to get everything that you want to get done as long as you stick to those time constraints that you put on yourself. For me personally, it allows me to be consistent, and whatever I'm doing consistent allows me to improve in that area. And then it allows me to also relax a little bit. I'm not too worried about what's going to happen this day, what's going to happen that day. I know what's already coming up. It's one of the things that you're able to control amongst the things that you aren't able to control.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Man, that's deep, man. I think it definitely, I think it's important to have a routine so it allows you to be consistent. I just sometimes, people have a hard time of like trying to build a routine or knowing how to incorporate it. I feel like that can take a lot of searching in itself. What specifically, like, what does your routine look like? What do you think?
So first, obviously, I wake up, brush my teeth, shower up, whatever needs to be done. But I like to exercise as soon as I wake up. The first thing that you do in the day should be the most important, or the thing that you want to spend your most brain power doing. And I think I got that from a book called The One Thing.
Oh, yeah.
So because your brain gets fatigued, so me being able to do the one thing that is most important, if I do it first in the day, it allows me to do it to the best of my ability at that time.
Okay, man. Yo, I like that, man. And then just out of curiosity, bro, like, cause you did mention meditation. That's something I do from time to time too. Can you speak towards your meditation practice and how that benefits you?
Yeah, so I think there's a bunch of different types of meditation. I've tried a couple of different ones. Some are more difficult than others to me. I think is very, very necessary. Even if it's not just, traditional meditation where you're sitting there, or if it's guided, anything that relieves stress can be considered meditation, I feel like. So sometimes I run, And after I finish a run, my mind is the clearest that it's been. Sometimes I do guided meditation, and that helps me put me at ease. Or sometimes I'll just sit without any noise, and
Yeah.
I'll sit for a certain amount of time, and that allows me to think.
Yeah.
So there's different types of meditation, and I just think it's helpful. Sometimes you need to take a pause or take a break and
Yeah.
relax.
Yeah, man. I know you and I, like, we also did some, like, yoga sessions. You put me on to yoga, which was a very interesting, a very interesting experience, to say the least. Would you consider that a form of meditation too, or not?
So yoga is a little bit more active. So I can say it's a form of meditation, but I wouldn't call it like one of the traditional,
Yeah.
traditional meditations where you're sitting to still or you're sitting in the same position for a long time. But it's definitely a form of meditation to me.
Gotcha, man. All right, man. And then I had one more question for you that I wanted to ask, and it kind of goes back to your real estate journey. And like you in your book, you talk about the importance of having a team, and as independent and as I can be, I personally believe that you can't do anything great by yourself. So, you talk about you were able to build a team of professionals to guide you in the process of buying your first property. Can you talk about that experience and what that was like and how your team benefited you?
Yeah, absolutely. So a team is necessary. Like you can only get but so far by yourself. And then you're gonna need a team. Real estate is one of those industries where you have to rely on other people. You can't do it all by yourself. So you might need a lender. Well, you're gonna need a lender.
Okay.
You're going to need a closing attorney, insurance agent. There's a bunch of different aspects to real estate that will require you to need another person. So having a team of professionals that you trust, that do good work, that are responsive, that is key, because I've had times where I was dealing with certain professionals and they weren't up to the level of quality that I needed them to be, and deals didn't go through. With that occurring, I learned quickly, like, you have to have people that you can rely on and people that you can trust.
Yeah, man, that's super important, man. And I kind of want to follow up because you did say something about like you had some deals fall through, and I wanted to actually speak about that. Like, on this podcast, one of the things I want to do is I want to talk like even though I'm celebrating your success, something about me is I'm a lot more interested. I guess I'm kind of different, but I'm a lot more interested in your failures more than like what you did to get that success. Because I feel like on social media and just in general, people are always talking about the success that they receive, like the results.
Yeah,
And like after a while, like it's kind of cool to hear, but it feels like it's not as realistic or like it's like it's not like you're not getting the full story. Like you know what I'm saying? I feel like we always see the shine, but we never see the
yeah.
grind. And so I'm
Instagram,
yeah,
Instagram only highlights.
exactly. And so that kind of gets annoying. And I guess my question for you is like, how many deals did you go through that, like how many, I guess, I don't want to say failures, but how many deals or attempts did you kind of go through before you finally got this one? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I can say that buying my property, I was searching for a while, but I wasn't necessarily, I was analyzing deals to see what made sense, but I wasn't necessarily going through a lot of like bad deals for that.
Gotcha.
Where the bad deals came was when a, I first became a residential real estate agent. I was hungry, right? I wanted to get deals done. I wanted to help people buy properties. I wanted to make some money. I would say I was doing anything, right? People would call me, hey, I want to see this house. I'm driving 45 minutes to go show them this house, and then they never contacted me again.
Damn.
So that happened a couple times, and as a young real estate agent, you learn like, okay, there are certain qualities and things that you look for to quantify or vet a person and vet their capabilities of actually buying a property with you.
Yeah.
So I learned that very quickly. And then I had some deals where the deals didn't actually close for various reasons, but those are heartbreaking too. You might put a month in working with clients and you have them signed to a contract, and for whatever reason, a deal doesn't close. They might not continue searching,
Yeah.
or they could do something that hurts their ability to buy a property.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have a specific like kind of heartbreaking story where you're like, man, you're really excited about this deal or this
Yeah.
opportunity, and then
I
it just
had
kind of fell
a
through?
client. I was a client. It was actually a couple, and they were searching for a house for maybe 2 months. And we were putting in offers, and this is during the pandemic. We were putting in offer after offer, and they were just getting beat out. We're bidding over. There's other people bidding over. We're putting in good terms. Everything. We were getting beat out. So we finally get a property that they like. We put in an offer. Offer gets accepted. Everything is looking green. Everything is looking good. Maybe 2 or 3 days before closing occurs, they did something that puts their buying ability into jeopardy, and we were not able to close on that property. We tried everything, but we weren't able to. So 2 days before I'm getting paid, 2 days before they have a new house, no good.
Damn.
Property, yeah,
Wait,
no
how
jeopardy.
did that happen? I don't understand. Like there was a like they put in a buying a bit clause or something. What stopped you?
So when you're in a real estate deal, right, or when you're in the midst of it and you're waiting for a transaction to close, there are certain things you cannot do. So you can't really go open a new credit card. You shouldn't be spending
No,
more money than you usually do
gotcha.
because it puts your financial profile at risk.
Yeah.
You shouldn't go buy a new car. You shouldn't lease a car. You shouldn't co-sign on a
Okay.
car. None of that. There's certain things that you just shouldn't do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And they did one of those things
Yeah.
which put their buying power and profile
Dude,
at risk.
dude, that sucks, man. Dude, so I'm a realtor, in Philadelphia, and that story right there is exactly why like I don't do realtor stuff because I feel like it's way too dependent on like other people, and like that had nothing to do with you. You just kind of got screwed because other people weren't being as responsible, you know?
Yeah, that's a part of the game, honestly.
Yeah.
It's a people business, so you have to guide them as best as you can, but at the end of the day, people are people and they're gonna do what they want to do.
Yeah, yeah, but I like your attitude towards it. You never seem like you're hurt about it, or like the four agreements. You don't take it personal. You just kind of keep pushing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like obviously at the time losing out on tens of thousands of dollars, you're upset, but there's nothing that you could do. Like I can't control anything else about it. So
yeah,
for me to get upset about it would just me be wasting emotions at
yeah, yeah.
that point.
Nah, for sure, my guy, for sure, man. So, I just want to thank you so much for your time and giving me this the opportunity to speak with you. Honestly, it was an honor. And again, I want to just celebrate your success and all the good work you're doing, and and all the great work that you will continue to do. Before we end this podcast, do you have any words of inspiration to give? And also, how can people reach out to you if they're interested in like contacting you, networking with you, or even purchasing your book?
Yeah, so first, I want to just tell everybody whatever it is that you want to do, you can do it. The best way to begin doing it is to figure out what the steps are. Um, if you could think about it, if it's a tangible idea or if it's an idea that comes into your brain, you can generate it and create it in the physical.
Mm-hmm.
That book was in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit crazy and surreal for me to have it as something that's physical now because it was in my head. So I created it in my head and then I created it as something physical.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things seem scary at first, but once you break it down and you see what's really behind it, it's like the monster under the bed, right? As a little kid, there's a lot of people who are scared about monsters under the bed. When you turn the light on and you look under the bed, it might just be a sheet or a toy. You don't really it's not really as scary as you thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
And many times that's typically what happens. In terms of people reaching out to me, you can reach out to me on Instagram. My Instagram is underscore M Wilder. So M_MWILDER. Shoot me a DM. I'll answer your questions. And I'm just here to help, honestly.
Yeah. Dope, man. And I definitely recommend that people purchase this book. It's called How I Bought a Building at 24.
On
And
Amazon.
yeah, on Amazon. And I just want to say, like, I admire your versatility. Like, you went from being like a college athlete to like an entrepreneur to like a real estate investor to like an author. So it kind of just shows like how like your mindset allows you to be so like interchangeable and do so many different things, which is definitely like interesting. And before I end this, I want to before I end this interview, I want to end this interview with a quote written by Malik that I thought was pretty profound, and it said, "I wanted something I never had, so I did something that I never done." So like that. And with that, have a good one, man, and
Thank
stay
you,
blessed,
bro.
boss. Yeah.